Alright.
I don't need it, but... Are we recording?
Okay, yes.
Hi, welcome to our channel. Drunk Doctor Who, Episode 2.
Episode 2. The Daleks.
I'm Holden, today, hosted by Hatter. Dr. Hatter. Today we have traveled back in time. We experienced, 1963, serial number 2 of our Doctor Who series.
The Daleks. No,
the Daleks.
1963 to 1964. It goes.
That's right. I'm sorry.
From December 63 to February 64. 7 episodes. It was the second ever serial of Doctor Who. It is the one that captured the public's imagination. The Daleks.
This one really launched the series as a whole. The entire show of Doctor Who.
It is ensconced as a mainstream, a cornerstone of British BBC television.
Right.
Yes.
Today our drinks of choice is we've gotten drunk on I've gotten drunk on wine today, as lightweight. You've been drinking Fireball.
Fireball, yes.
Today I feel very privileged as I've been borrowing the official Doctor Who mug with the TARDIS here.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about the series, series 1 we talked about last week was overshadowed by this momentous news coming in from America, how President Reagan was assassinated, and that sort of
Kennedy.
I'm sorry. What did I say? Reagan
was never assassinated. There was an attempt on his life.
Right.
It was unsuccessful.
My bad.
Kennedy was assassinated.
That overshadowed the first series serial.
Right.
Launching. And that is delayed by 15 minutes as they had this special BBC News broadcast of what was going on there. And then, Serial 2, the Daleks really launched Doctor Who into the mainstream audience.
Right. To be serious, the bit with the cavemen kind of sucked, but it's what they had to go at the time. The bit with but it wasn't as great. But the Daleks, Daleks gave the bug-eyed monsters of the week. They gave the Daleks the pepper pots that would. Right. Trust me, the Daleks come back again and again and again and
They're the recurring nemesis, the antagonists of
the main nemesis of the Doctor.
The Doctor. Yes.
Terry Nation, the writer who created the Daleks. He's the only writer of Doctor Who ever got rich off of writing Doctor Who because he owned a bit of the Daleks and he licensed them back to the BBC over and over and over again because the 60s you would own a bit of your creation on the modern day. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, so this serial ran 7 episodes from 12/21/1963 to 2/21/1964.
Yes.
So we're in 1964. And it was wonderful fun. Okay, to go over some stuff from last week.
Yes, we had the prelude of everything. We were too drunk. We were very drunk last week. A rough upstarting to our series.
Yeah.
We skipped a few things. You wanted to go over this?
But just to let you know, we do not wish to be completely wasted overall. This is drunk Doctor Who, not wasted Doctor Who. If we get wasted, be that as it may, the whole point of this is to be organic. It is to be
no editing,
to be organic, straightforward as possible. And if it happens, that's good. It is as it is. As I said at the end of last week, it is what it is. And if we get drunk and we puke, and that's fine. If we get drunk and we get off topic, that's fine. The whole point is to be fun and organic. There's no script, there's no editing, there's no nothing. But with that said, we skipped a few things last week, and amongst them are, what did you think of the companions? Because the Doctor has companions. There's Susan, Ian, and Barbara. Susan is his granddaughter. What do you think of Susan?
I love Susan. She's the pretty face of the whole series. They really overshine the cavemen, who I also thought just had great writing, even though it was the rough upstart. The first serial, the caveman was a little rough. They had Cal, Za, and the old woman. I thought, you talked about how the whole series of Doctor Who had the stylistic choice of running serial by serial and having several long continuation of episodes allowed more creativity in the development of characters, and I really like those characters. And we had the recurring Barbara, Ian, and Susan, as well as the Doctor.
Currently, yeah.
And then in this new serial, we had a bleed over in the continuation of even new characters, and we had even more episodes. This serial was 7 episodes long, and we got to develop all these new characters of the what were they called?
The Thrall.
The Thrall and the Daleks. And with the Thralls especially, we saw a lot of developing characters, and you had the leader, and spoiler, how the leader was ambushed and killed by the Daleks, and you had his brother, sort of this whole hierarchy of the Thralls society, and he took leadership, and you had the brothers. We had one of the brothers romantically involved with Barbara, and the other brother sort of painted himself as a coward. And he really wanted to turn back, but you asked me what I thought about the characters. I thought they were great. We Susan, she's very frantic. She's the pretty face. She's the younger character. The ingenue. We talked about how way back in the days, 1963, 1964, sci-fi was targeted for younger audiences, children, and it wasn't so much as an adult mainstream media. It was the children. The sci-fi was sort of the targeted audience, and Susan was sort of the relatable character for the viewers. And then you had Ian. He was the man's man. He was the guy that
Chesterton. Yeah.
Ian Chesterton. He took charge, and he was heroic, and he took on these acts and go it alone type of take charge kind of guy. In the story, we had a conflict there where Ian wanted to go back to the TARDIS to get the radiation medication.
Well, you're talking about this story, not the last story.
Right, that was this season.
Right.
It bled over, and more character development as Ian, as the man's man, he takes charge. But in this current the Daleks serial, he tried to go back and get the radiation medication, but he was unable to because his legs were still numb because of being paralyzed earlier, and he couldn't go back and get the medication. So Susan had to. She's the younger, more frantic character, more relatable, phonetic. And then finally we have Barbara. She's the lady person. She's hinted at maybe she's romantically involved with Ian, but also she had a lot of chemistry with the other brother, with the Thralls, the other guy, the Thrall that's very attractive, very pretty. Aldean. They teased about how they're like, the Daleks were so different because they're so radiated. They said these Thralls are so mutated, but really they said that because they're just really mutated. And they're like, if they think the Thralls are mutated, what must they look like? Because Aldean was very attractive. They had a lot of chemistry with Barbara. So that's sort of her characteristic role was, Ian's companion. They got, lumped in, alabasted with this whole, conflict of they got uprooted and they're swooshed off to all these fantastic adventures in the sci-fi realm.
Hey, just as a note, we wish to be drunk Doctor Who, not wasted Doctor Who. So we don't wish to use the bucket as necessary like we did last time.
It's not going to be nearly as
drunk,
graphic.
not wasted, and that's why Holden here has been drinking wine.
Yes.
Not spirits, not hard alcohol like I've been drinking, because I can hold it. He can't. He's 22. I'm 49, almost 50, so I can. And
higher tolerance. I'm
right,
facing myself.
And I'm Cajun. Yeah, the whole point is to have a conversation like this, not be completely wasted and puking on film. Although if it happens, it's okay. It's all part of the organic nature of this whole wonderful, fun hobby experiment.
Well,
anyway.
now I'm just embarrassed.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You drink wine, red, white. It's all good.
Yeah.
We have good wine for you. Anyway, yeah. Susan is the Doctor's granddaughter.
Yes.
And she's the ingenue, and she is
much like myself.
Damn right, correct. The ingenue, but you are old enough to drink. That's we can't have the 50-year-old ingenue because it's not old enough to drink.
Is Susan 15 in the series?
Approximately.
Okay.
An ingenue is approximately 15.
Okay.
But you're the ingenue, but you're old enough to drink.
Late start.
Well, no. It's just that's the laws now. when I was a kid, it was 18. Now it's 21. That's
Right.
fine.
Drinking age.
Right. Yeah, I grew up in New Orleans. It was, yeah. Okay, so Ian and Barbara, those are the teachers from the school who go in search of Susan, their grandfather, who is the doctor, and they come into their own, partly in the caveman, but very much in the Daleks, and they hold their own very well in the serial. And like you said, it's 7 episodes, so we had a good amount of time to drink, and it goes from into 1964, and the Daleks is what made Doctor Who.
Yes.
If it wasn't for the Daleks, Doctor Who would not exist. It's the second serial for the show. It would have been the first, but it wasn't ready to go, and so they did with the caveman. But the bug-eyed monster of the week, and that'll come into play in some of the apocrypha, in the documentary about the early days of the Daleks. Time, whatever. Anyway, so it'll come into play, but the Daleks, what made Doctor Who. And Terry Nation, who wrote the Daleks, is probably the only writer on Doctor Who became rich because of Doctor Who, because he invented the Daleks. Anyway, the Daleks were licensed back from him time and time again, and they will show up time and time and time again. They are the main antagonists to the Doctor. Them, just secondly the Cybermen and the Master, etc. But the Daleks are the main villains, and they are described as pepper pots in some cases, but they are the wonderful antagonists to Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so continue. What's
yes.
the
So we were very drunk last week, and we sort of skipped some of these things. We're going to the prelude of what we missed last season. We talked about the characters, and going into that, we also had this subject of the filmography, how the burning of the film. As how the film reacted to things on screen. Last serial was the flame, the torches sort of burned the film. That had that effect, and it happened again this serial when the Daleks and our companions are messing with different computers, and there's sparking. And there's again that effect of burning of the film, and you have that weird gradation of the film.
It's very 1960s. So it would create a burn on the film or the videotape, as it was. And it is what it is. It wasn't. They in the BBC in the UK had inferior, film and videotape to what we had in the United States.
Limitations of technology.
Well, yes, and limitations of budget mostly. They were still under the rationing from the Second World War, whereas we were not. And
debt.
They seriously. They couldn't afford the better tape, the better film, the better quality, with certain exceptions. And so, the fire, the flares, the torches for them flashlights, but torches also would burn the tape, and it's okay. It's just what it was.
At this time is that upstart of a series that wasn't really defined as a really groundbreaking.
This was a children's show. It was designed as children, and so every other serial would be historical, be it the Caveman, be it Marco Polo, which is the 4th serial, or later on, there's a famous one that is they do during the purge of Catholics in Protestant England, and it's the
very historical.
It's right here. Wait.
Really uprooting you to.
No, seriously. It's seriously, we've got all these, and it's all there. And we're at the beginning right there. And my main watching group is right here in the Talons of Wei Chang, which it still was at the last viewing. And eventually, since we're watching serials, and the other group's only watching 2 episodes a week, we will catch up to them and pass them probably during the 5th Doctor. No. The I can't think what it is. But there's the the Crusades is also historical. The Romans is also historical, and the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. That's it. The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. And
So
these right. Every other serial is historical, and every other serial is sci-fi. They eventually give that up around the end of the first Doctor, beginning the second. But because it's a children's show, they want to teach them history. It's it's okay, you know.
Children marketing, you want educational, back and forth between the sci-fi and the historical.
Right.
Very cool.
But the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve was all about the Protestants purging the Catholics in England in the 1600s.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm slightly vague on the specifics, but it's about right.
Yeah. So there's this upstart of a sci-fi series. So they jump back and forth between being sci-fi and fantastical and also historical, so they can be marketed as educational because it's a children's program. But at the same time, it's 1963, 1964. It's being marketed as sci-fi and as a target audience of children. But it's also very violent, and I want to talk about how that's very much contrasted as modern today children's programs are not nearly as violent, and how that also paints a picture of the difference between America and Europe. As Europe, censors violence much more than they do sexuality, and America censors sexuality and not as much violence. But way back 1960 to 1964, when in Europe we're filming the children's program Sci-Fi Doctor Who, it's very violent as it goes into the story.
Violence. Okay. Think of England coming through the Second World War. Think of England with all the death and mayhem and destruction of the Second World War.
Yes.
And they had all that violence, and their programs reflected it in certain extents. And in the Caveman, the first serial, you had murder and death, and it's okay. And the same thing in the Daleks. You had murder and death during the Daleks, and it's just to be accepted and expected because that is the way it was. I mean, we in America understand violence more than sex, and it blows my mind. I mean, sex is more natural. Sex is more expected of human beings. Violence, right. Violence less so. To me, the Europeans have it right. Sex, go for it. Violence, not so much. We are the other way around. A pair of breasts in America makes it rated R. Right. But violence is okay. With some exceptions. There's some exceptions in our rating system for masterpieces and for historical value, like in the United States. Have you seen Total Recall?
Yes.
Okay, the original or the remake?
Probably the remake.
Okay, in the 2000s there was a remake, and you had the three-breasted woman, but it was rated PG-13 because the original had the three-breasted woman, and it was rated PG in the 1980s, and it was kind of grandfathered in. But have you seen Calendar Girls?
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, older women doing a calendar where they're topless, and it should have been rated R by their own means. But there's the masterpiece exception, where because it's so good, you're allowed to be one rating less, so more people can see it.
It's more artistic.
Right. Yeah. So it came in at PG-13 instead of rated R. Same thing for Saving Private Ryan. It should have been rated NC-17 for violence, but it was rated R because it was considered a masterpiece.
Very good movie.
Right, amazing
They
movie.
want,
But be that as it may, I have no problem with sex. Sex is natural. Breasts are natural. Nudity is natural. Violence is unnatural. But we in America accept violence so much more than we do sex or nudity. Whereas the Europeans accept sex and nudity so much more than they do violence.
That's true.
And I agree with the Europeans on that. It is what it is.
And that's also reflected in our whole gaming, artistic lenience. The gaming ratings is M for mature 17 and up. It's very much rated on violence and language and gore and stuff.
I guess so. I haven't paid attention to that. I love movies. I love Doctor Who. I haven't paid attention to the gaming ratings the way I have.
Right.
But if you have, then throw that in.
Yeah, it's very much the same as the whole filming industry.
Right. Wait.
And how it's rated. So
how does this relate to Doctor Who?
It doesn't. This is a tangent. So we've covered things that we missed last week on the characters and so the rating system, how the film interacts. Also, something a note I had from last serial that also bleeds well into this current serial is I had a question about language and all throughout filming in sort of sci-fi, you have all these questions that pop up, and one of the predominant questions is, how do these people communicate across different time zones and different galaxies? They all mysteriously and miraculously seem to understand each other and speak the same language, and that also applies to Doctor Who. This whole show of how the Doctor and his companions travel back in time, and they discover the cavemen.
Mm-hmm.
These cavemen from the past, they all understand each other and seem to speak the same language. And then in this current serial, the second serial we just watched, they travel to a different planet. The Thralls and the Daleks, they just happen to understand each other and all speak the same language. What's the explanation behind that? How do they understand each other?
Drink. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you. All right. Okay. In the early part of Doctor Who, it was English.
Mm-hmm.
English is universal. English is common, as you would say in D&D.
Right.
English is universally understood.
Sure.
They just didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Modern Doctor Who has explained it. I say modern, go back to say the 80s.
Right, the 80s.
Go back to say the 80s. It has explained it as it is the TARDIS. The TARDIS translates all languages, so the Doctor and his companions, anyone who travels in the TARDIS, can understand, write, read all languages.
So that's like last serial we talked about the chameleon circuit and how that malfunctioned, and that helps the TARDIS transform into something disguised and camouflage as something appropriate to the time.
Right, but it keeps it in a police box.
And it's still a police box
function.
So is there also a circuit that translates these languages, and it's apparently very long range to where the Doctor can leave the TARDIS and go to this Dalek city
anywhere on the planet.
Anywhere on the planet. So long range, like radio, TV signals, they can speak and read and write any language.
Right, it's all translated to English, and it's all translated from whatever language into English and from English into whatever language, so everybody can understand anything whatsoever, except where it doesn't. And there are certain exceptions where it doesn't. In the Talents of Wayne Chang, which is the current serial that my other Doctor Who group is on.
Right.
The Doctor speaks Chinese, Mandarin, to the main character. Ni hao, ni hao ma. Right. Hello, and how are you? Right. I lived in China, remember?
No, I don't know that.
I lived in China, in
That's
Wuhan,
awesome.
China, back in '99 for 5 months.
That's very cool.
Yeah, ni hao ma.
Hi, how are you?
Right.
I learned that from a fortune cookie. I have a brother-in-law who's Chinese. He speaks Mandarin.
Oh, there you go. Okay, the best thing you say to him, if he asks you, how are you? Ni hao ma is mama hoo hoo. It means so.
Mama
hoo hoo. But it means so. It's an idiom. The literal translation is horse, tiger. Apparently there was this painter who was trying to paint horses or trying to paint tigers. And they came up to him and they said, well, how's it going? And he said, horse, tiger.
So
and it's so. And literally that's what it means. But, the idiom is so. But anyway, so in the towns of Wang Chang, the doctor tries to speak Mandarin to several people. It happens again later on where there's ancient Gallifreyan way down here, yeah. In the later 20th century Doctor Who, ancient Gallifreyan, where the TARDIS does not translate. But the TARDIS translates almost universally, except in certain instances where it's acceptable and convenient for the plot.
Okay. So is that not explained by like a malfunction in a circuit that translates it? Like the malfunction in the chameleon circuit?
No. It just happens. When it's good, it's good. When they need something to twist it for the plot, they twist it for the plot.
So it's semi-retconned into the circuit that translates it, but not all the time, as long as it's convenient.
Correct. The vast majority of the time, but not all the time. That's good.
All right.
It's Doctor Who. They retcon stuff. They twerk stuff. They fix stuff. It is what it is. I mean, it is what it is.
All right. So my next question, after the language barriers and sort of the explanation behind that, is set and costume design. So I wanted to get your opinions on, way back 1960 through 1964, we had different sets, and those comprised of, this was, pre-technology, like you said, post-war, they're very budgeted, they had budget constraints. This was before the technology of green screen, so they had to, paint these sets and the backdrops behind them.
Right, the green screen will come in the 70s.
Not till the 70s, and I wanted to hear your explanations between, your thoughts on the sets, because, we had the cavemen, and especially in the second serial, we had, this, mystical planet that they had, these petrified trees and this really, brush-looking sets, and it's very cool-looking. What do you think about those sets?
I mean, the planet is called Skaro.
The Skaro planet.
Skaro, right. And we will get into that in 76 more serials. The genesis of the Daleks is where we really get into the history of Skaro.
Right.
Till then, we deal with the Daleks over and over and over again, because they do come back.
Coming up as the antagonists. They are the big enemy of the Doctor, and they come back over and over and over again. Like I said, Terry Nation, who created the Daleks, is the only Doctor Who writer who ever got rich on what he created for Doctor Who. Because that's part of his property, and he kept licensing it back to the BBC.
Right.
Very smart.
It was different in the 60s than it is now.
Yeah.
Than it was in the 70s or 80s or 90s or noughts. And he kept licensing it back to the, Doctor Who. And he got wealthy on the Daleks. But anyway, so they came back several times, but their origin story is only really, displayed during the genesis of the Daleks, during the Fourth Doctor, which is the 78th serial, I believe.
Yeah.
And
we have 76 more to go before we get to see the origin story of the Daleks.
Yeah, lots of episodes, yeah.
Many more to come before we see the sort of explanation behind these big giants of the good versus evil, the Daleks.
Right, and Genesis of the Daleks.
Recurring antagonists.
Right, Genesis of the Daleks is one of the absolute classic serials of classic Doctor Who. I mean, flat out amazing.
So make sure you tune in 76 more weeks. A couple more years will be fine.
Well, give or take. I mean, there's going to be vacations and Christmases and stuff like that. In September, I will take a vacation first 2 Mondays of September.
That's awesome.
No videos first 2 weeks of September.
Maybe we can pre-film things or not. We don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. It depends how much I want to drink. All right.
So we've covered the sets and your thoughts on those. We also have, the costume design. We have, first of all, the Doctor, and he, I think he reincarnates himself. And as the seasons roll on, you sort of have this,
much later,
you have the sort of self-awareness of the Doctor Who, where he starts, marketing himself. He sort of turns into the Riddler-esque type of things. He wears question marks on himself, like this polo with question marks.
Doctor.
And you have the ties or something with the question marks.
The second Doctor is the one with the recorder.
There are two of those different Doctors who wear like the question marks on their wardrobe.
The fifth and the sixth.
The fifth and the sixth Doctor. He has one on the polo, and the other one has question marks. That's sort of like a part of the Doctors that the season sort of becomes self-aware, and as he reincarnates, the director's direction, he wanted the wardrobe to reflect, the Doctor. Is the Doctor Who? And he wears the question marks.
We're looking at season 22, 23, 24,
way
25.
In the future.
Way in the future. Right. Here. I mean, we're up there, and you're looking here and there,
So we don't have to worry about that for a while.
Yeah, way long. Now, okay, one interesting thing about the Daleks is it was remade into a movie starring Peter Cushing. It's one of the apocrypha bits of Doctor Who. And we have it down there. Well, yeah, it's
Remind me again how we describe the apocryphy. Or exactly does that
apocrypha.
The apocrypha.
Yeah, it's the bit of, apocrypha means not quite canon or not quite real. And there are apocrypha books of the Bible that are not quite accepted. And in terms of Doctor Who, it's like the Peter Cushing movies, which includes the Daleks and the Daleks Invasion of Earth. No, that's the two Peter Cushing movies. They took the script from the Daleks and the Daleks Invasion of Earth, which we'll come to eventually, and they took almost the exact scripts and made them into movies.
Not quite canonicity, but repackaged and presented as sort of a stylization of.
But it was Doctor Who in color.
Yes.
But he wasn't called. He was literally called Doctor Who. He wasn't the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He was literally called Doctor Who because he wasn't a Time Lord. He was human. Mm-hmm. But they did that several times. They did that a lot in the '60s, and this is this is the Doctor Who version of that. And Peter Cushing was in Star Wars, if you remember.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
And that's really when the sci-fi leapt into mainstream, and not only just a children's marketing target audience, but adults were they discovered that adults were really interested in sci-fi and everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that really helped the launch of the Doctor Who, alongside Star Wars and Star Trek. But it is already a standalone series.
Right, Doctor Who was 63,
mm-hmm.
Star Trek came along in 67, and then Star Wars in 77, 76, 77. But all of that was dependent upon Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. It's really the forerunner of the whole genre.
Yeah,
It's cool. And so upon, do you have any more thoughts about the wardrobe of the characters? Now, there was this cloak presented by the Thals to the characters, and he gave them this cloak, and they decided to use that as insulation against these. Now, the Daleks, how they operate is they draw power from the floor, like the bumper cars or the Dodgems.
The Dodgems.
The Dodgems.
Cars, right.
And they wanted to insulate the floor from the Daleks to sort of deactivate these machines that they're housed in, because the Daleks are really these tentacly small football-shaped organisms that reside in the robot mechanisms.
About the shape of a coconut.
Yeah, the coconut. And so they use this cloak presented to him from the Thals. Thralls. And he gives Susan a cloak, and she uses it to insulate the floor, to cut off the Daleks' energy source from the floor, and that depowerizes its housing, and they pull it out, and the Dalek is thrown aside in the cloak, wrapped in the cloak, and that's how Ian sneaks in to the Dalek's housing.
You see just the little specifics of the the Dalek.
It just hints at its claw. You don't see it until way later, 76.
Well, you don't see the whole
later.
thing ever. Yeah.
Oh, ever? Not even in the
not in the
series.
serial. You see it later on.
Yeah, serial 78.
Genesis of the Daleks.
Genesis of the Daleks.
78th serial. 76 years from now.
Yeah.
You see the Daleks in all their glory.
Can't wait. Teasing for the future.
Yeah. I love the Fourth Doctor. He's my favorite. Tom Baker.
Which one is that now on our poster?
Tom Baker. Okay,
he's the gentleman
with the scarf.
Yes,
scarf
him,
the scarf,
the
right.
perm,
he is the doctor.
The doctor.
When you talk about, the gentleman doctor.
Oh, the gentleman doctor's more like...
Right there, that's him.
Ruffled clothes.
That's the gentleman doctor. When you talk about the doctor for Americans, it's Tom Baker. Because he ran the most serials, the most episodes, 7 seasons. And he was the one that was presented to America via PBS. In
really
the 70s
bridge that
and
gap
the
of,
most, right.
European television, American television.
And he is still the only doctor, I believe, for whom all of the DVDs are currently available. A lot of these DVDs, at this point, will cost you hundreds of dollars because they are out of print. And I had to pay a crap ton of money for them. I mean, stupid amounts of money. Right, thank you. But, I mean, like I said, this is where we are with my main group. This is where we are at the beginning.
Serial.
Literally at the beginning. The very first one with us. We will slowly but surely catch up to the main group because we're watching a serial a week, and the main group's watching 2 episodes a week.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will miss fewer weeks than they do due to life.
Vacational absences.
Right. And like I'll be on vacation the first 2 weeks of September.
Very committed.
First 2 weeks of September we will not be doing this. And so first 2 weeks of September, no new videos. I will be on vacation. It's okay. Life.
Where are you headed for vacation?
It's a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. We're not talking about it.
Yeah. Every other week. Every other year. We go on vacation. My wife does not know where we're going. When my wife and I got together, I did the very traditional thing. I did not tell her we were going on our honeymoon.
I didn't know that's traditional.
No, it's very traditional.
Well, now I know.
And she liked it because we went to Rome.
That's awesome.
Athens, Istanbul, Mykonos, Santorini, back to Rome. And we stayed there several days, and she loved it. So she's liked it. So every other year she knows where we're going on vacation.
Every other year.
Every other year she does not know. So this year she doesn't know we're going on vacation. It's a secret. Next year she does not know because we're resynchronizing it to the even years.
Okay. Yeah.
So 18, 19 she doesn't know.
Leap year.
20 she knows. Because we're going to Tennessee. We're going to drive to Tennessee, visit, Memphis and Knoxville and Nashville.
That's
and all
what
that.
she knows about, right?
She wants to go to Tennessee, so that's on her bucket list.
See, I feel like that's traditional for your age, but when I propose my girlfriend, we get married, I feel like she has a lot of opinions where she wants to go for a honeymoon. I don't know if that's a traditional thing anymore for my generation. I feel like most of the time it's the wives deciding.
Tradition is tradition. I say don't let her know where you're going, just go. My wife did not know where we were going on the honeymoon until we hit the airport.
Oh my goodness.
And she found out we're going to Rome. What? Whoa. Yeah. We're going to where? And then we hit the cruise and we hit all those places. She loved it.
I don't know if that'll...
Okay, women want to be modern, but they also want to be traditional. It's women are duplicitous.
There's a balance.
Yeah, they want to be this and they want to be that, and it all converges and conflicts. And
Very good word.
Okay, what's the term?
Duplicitous.
Duplicitous. No, it's a mental term.
Bipolar? It's not gonna do offense.
Not bipolar. Although bipolar will, that's correct in certain circumstance. No. Okay, there's cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
Where your cognitive reasoning may be off, and
intentionally so sometimes.
Well, sometimes, yeah, but you cognitive dissonance, where you
disbelief.
I don't want to gain weight, but I don't want to exercise. Well, that's cognitive dissonance. You don't want to do both,
Yeah.
You have to exercise to not gain weight, or you have to at least eat less to not gain weight. But they don't want to do that, and that's fine,
That's true.
But you can't have both exist at the same time. It's
a balance.
It is, yeah.
Alrighty. Moving on.
Moving on. How do we get on this? I don't know.
I don't know. Straight up topic.
Okay, let me know when you want. I will help you go through your honeymoon. I'm good at that. Seriously, I'm really good at that.
You'll be my travel agent.
Yes, I'm good at that. I will help you. It's good. You would not believe what I have prepared for this year and for next year for me and my wife.
Is it ingenue of not that word. Professional vacation. Alright, so travel agent. A hard expert. Now, my next question is I noticed the Doctor in the first few seasons, he has a couple of different gadgets he uses. The very first episode, they delve into that storage shed where they first find the police box. He's very on the defense. He points at them this necklace he's wearing with a little glow. He's questioning them. They're having this whole debate about let me into the police box. No, I can't let you into the police box. He has this necklace.
First few episodes.
The first couple of episodes, you're right. And then beyond that, another gadget that shows itself in the second serial is he has these glasses that are these magnifying glasses. They first use them to look at the city down below, and then later on when they're strategizing how to infiltrate the Dalek city, they use the glasses. And Susan's like, "Get down, Uncle," and they're hiding behind the rock and they're using the glasses. What are your thoughts on the gadgets? And there's also, I've heard before this term, the sonic screwdriver that does all these cool things. That hasn't shown itself. Is that the necklace he uses in the first couple episodes?
No. The sonic screwdriver does not show up until the second Doctor.
The second Doctor?
The second Doctor. Okay. We're there. The sonic screwdriver will show up about here.
Not till the second shelf.
Yes. The sonic screwdriver.
Second shelf.
Right. Literally, the sonic screwdriver in the very beginning only, unscrews and screws. Literally, what it says, sonic screwdriver.
It's an actual screwdriver.
Right, exactly. And it unscrews and screws. Eventually, the sonic screwdriver is a way for the Doctor to get past locked doors.
So it sort of develops into this riding, thing, sort of like Batman's utility belt. It sort of, helps them
kind of, yeah.
Right, exits to sort of,
right.
cliffhangers.
It gets the Doctor past stupid locked door crap.
Right.
Although, to be fair, it doesn't get him past wooden doors.
It only works with futuristic technology.
No, it only works with metal, not wood.
So the wood is the sonic
right, exactly.
weakness.
The wood stops the sonic screwdriver. It's so silly. But literally, the sonic screwdriver is used as an end-all be-all to get the Doctor past any stupid locked door, locked gate, locked anything. And it helps him examine and identify things that are alien and foreign and problematic.
So it's like the Pokedex of the universe, the Hitchhiker's Guide, sort of like a descriptionary of organisms and stuff.
Kind of, yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
It is a catch-all, end-all, be-all. But it starts literally as a screwdriver.
As a screwdriver, it sort of develops.
It literally unscrews screws in the beginning and rescrew screws.
But that's sort of how he gets
during the second Doctor. And the third Doctor develops, and by the fourth Doctor,
It's this like utilitarian tool of
right, Troughton and Pertwee, and by Baker, Tom Baker, it'll literally do whatever you want it to do, except wood, apparently.
Except for wood.
And then later on, when you get into the modern stuff, the 21st century stuff, it can do anything except wood, but it can calculate and computate millions of permutations to figure out problems, except wooden doors.
It's a problem.
It's so silly.
Lock cracker.
Right. It's good and it's bad. It's a plot device. It's not. And it's silly.
So that's the sonic screwdriver. We've talked about that and how it's positioned in the future.
Right, but you'll see that only
the second Doctor, and it develops from
not
there.
during the first.
But the first season and the first Doctor in its serials, he has gadgets of his own, like the magnifying glasses, and then that necklace he was wearing during the first couple of episodes. What's the whole story behind that? What's that necklace with the glowing tip that he points at them? And what are your thoughts on
the necklace amounts to nothing.
It's never explained again. It never
right. It is a non-entity.
That's upsetting. Never explained.
Yeah.
He just has the necklace.
The glasses are simply magnifying glasses.
That's all they do.
Opera glasses. That's a term. But it does later on have a ring, and the ring allows him into the TARDIS as a key. When the key,
right. We have Susan's key, where she was talking about in the second serial, where there are 21 different options to put the key, but only 20 of them are fail, and one's the accept. And that's the defense
that never
mechanism.
comes up again.
Never
Seriously,
comes up again, but it's a defense mechanism, and the whole the log melts down. But the Doctor, he has his own special key, the ring you're teasing about. We haven't.
That comes up later.
That comes up later. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, during the 12th Doctor, Capaldi, he's wonderful. He is a man's man.
Man's man.
He's a man. Seriously, Capaldi's a man's man. He was not willing to take off his wedding ring, even to play the part. So they designed a ring to go over his wedding ring.
That's awesome.
Yes, that was
sort of like a cover.
Exactly, that he used for the TARDIS and stuff, but they had to do it because he was not willing to take off his wedding ring even to play the part.
Does this sort of have the same thing like that in a TV show or a movie that's called Fireproof or something? Very religious.
I love Fireproof,
and it discusses these whole religious, marital issues, and he has this burn because he's a firefighter, and he's like, you have to take off your wedding band to have that recovery. He's like, this wedding band's not leaving my finger. Very man's man, traditional beliefs, very old school.
And in Fireproof, what is his name?
I don't remember, but he's a
Kirk Cameron.
Kirk Cameron, yes.
Was not willing to kiss anyone other than his wife.
That's awesome.
So in the movie, when he kisses the woman, it's his wife in the wig.
It's double.
Right. It was his wife in the wig to play the part because he wasn't willing to kiss anyone other than his wife.
I always had that thought of that must be a really hard struggle for actors and actresses when they get married and they play these other roles in other TV series where they have to kiss these other people. How that must be really hard for their significant others.
Right, and some are willing to go with it, and some are not.
Some are like, yeah, it's fine. It's just it doesn't mean anything. It's just part of a show. And others, Hollywood actors and actresses have this high rate of divorce, and that's really the heart of them when they have these chemistry and they have to play these roles where they're in relationships with other characters and other people.
And we are literally to the point in this country where the percentage of people who are not married is almost greater than the percentage of people who are married.
Right.
That's the first time ever. It's
the high rate of divorce.
No, not even divorce.
Yeah.
People
that
are not willing to get married.
Decide to get married.
Your generation who decide they never want to marry or who are not willing to get married.
They have these people. Their views are like, marriage is just a construct, and they get.
And I'm married.
But they're
married.
Tax
but you're not. You're younger, but it's to the point where people are not willing to get married as much. It's sad.
It is sad. But anyway, moving on from that very solemn discussion. We also had we covered the gadgets of the Doctor and the sonic screwdriver and how that carries on later, and then sort of the
it's not in the series.
unexplained,
It's much later.
the unexplained gadgets like the necklace and then the goggles that all they do is film it. We also have the Daleks. We already discussed how they're just these mutated people inside their robot housings and everything. So we've covered that in episode 2. Or I have this this footnote of the Doctor and sort of not so much story wise but directorially casting. We have the Doctor and he's a much older gentleman. You talked about outside of the series he's he drinks heavily and
the actor.
The actor, yes, he has in the serial he says things like gloves, but he means drugs, and he mispronounces Chesterton, but he means Chesterton. Yeah. Chesterton, and they sort of ad lib and say that's the radiation poisoning, or oh you're so old you got my name wrong, but really there's more to play into that. He said the actor actually is messing up his lines and everything, and he'll replace him. Did you want to talk about that or explain that or your thoughts on it?
Toast. Thank you. That's my TARDIS mug. Thank you very much.
I'm borrowing it very, very privileged to borrow the TARDIS mug today.
Better for wine than for whiskey.
It's the white wine, the Moscato, very 6% proven. We have the red wine.
Carlo Rossi Paisano. That's what's in it.
Yeah. The what restaurant is that from?
Orlando.
Orlando's the Orlando's
that
wine.
is their red table wine. It's Carlo Rossi Paisano. That's the best.
It's really
wine.
good. It's really kind of like alcoholic grape juice.
Exactly. But no.
The Doctor and him is
William Hartnell. He was 57 when he took the role. Yes, he was 57 when he took the role. He looks older.
Because way back in the day,
because he lived
through
the Second World War.
Aging,
right? And England, even after the war, was under a lot of economic restrictions.
You say economic or economic?
Yeah.
You say economic.
Either way, it's under a lot of restrictions, and it was under a lot of problems.
Tomato.
Well into the 60s and 70s. Okay, they had rationing. They were still trying to make up for all the crap that happened in the war.
They were in debt. They had lower production value with the filming and the lower film, the burning of the film. Right,
and the destruction of the old things. Yeah, and it sucked well into the 70s. But he was 57 when he took the role of Doctor Who. And he looks older. He looks 65, nearly 70. But he was a product of the times because of the Second World War and the rationing and everything else. And also because he drank too much, not giving any aspersions to him because obviously we're drinking too much here.
That's true.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But he was what he was. Now when we get to Capaldi, Capaldi was
the second Doctor.
The 12th Doctor.
12th Doctor, woo!
He's the exact same age as...
But he looks way younger.
Right, he looks younger because in the 21st century...
Better times, better medical technology.
Right. People are younger at an older age. So he was literally given the title of the Doctor at the same age. He looks so much younger.
Yeah, that's sort of... I also had a question about how the Doctors look older and then they sort of get younger and younger looking.
Well, they mostly get younger with some exceptions.
I mean, these guys, they look really young and handsome, and the other Doctors are much grayer.
That's the first, okay. The one with the... Right below him is the second. No, right below him.
Right below him, this guy.
That's the second Doctor.
He's the second. Trout. He already looks younger, he's
he's gone gray, he's black. And
yeah.
His haircut looks like a Mo from the Three Stooges.
So it just goes back and forth.
Right, that's the second. Okay, the third, alright. Wait.
We covered all the Doctors in American order. We gotta do this again.
Okay, the third. Do you want the third?
Sure.
Alright.
For chronological order.
Yeah, exactly. First, second.
Second.
Where in the world is Pertwee? Oh, Pertwee, gray hair right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. Yeah.
The gentleman doctor with the ruffled shirt.
Doctor, right? The gentleman doctor. Fourth is Tom Baker with the scarf.
With the scarf, your favorite.
Right.
Most
My
episodes,
favorite,
most
the
serials.
best doctor ever.
The gentleman.
All right. Fifth is the one with the
asparagus on the shirt. What on earth is going on with his
I'll explain later. It's kind of silly, yeah.
That's when they start to do the question marks on the wardrobe.
And that's a 6 right there in the upper left.
The upper left.
Sixth doctor, Colin Baker.
Yeah.
All right. The 7th right over in the upper right.
Upper right, this guy with the hat?
Yep, McCoy.
Yeah, what's going on here with the 70s, the perms?
That's the 80s, by the way.
The 80s? They
kind
have
of a Jew fro.
There you go from here to there.
And then that's 6th, 7th over here, McCoy.
With the hat.
8th.
The only doctor who wears a hat, apparently.
Not exactly.
These aren't all the doctors, by the way. These are just the first 10 or 12.
These are the first 11.
The first 11, and we have more doctors.
12 and 13.
12 and 13.
Well,
which are on this poster.
Okay, the 8th is McGann.
McGann?
Right here. Yeah, right there. That's
with the pocket watch. Is that another gadget of Doctor Who that we have yet to delve into?
The fob watch.
The fob watch. We'll see that later.
That's McGann. He was in the 90s. He's the only episode in the 90s. Okay, the 10th is Eccleston, right? The 9th is Eccleston, right here.
Here?
Yeah, the guy in the leather jacket.
He's a much gruffer looking doctor, shorter haircut, leather jacket.
Right.
Not as much. Okay. Not with the blazers and the bow ties.
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
Phenomenal actor. Only stayed one season though.
Only one season. He looks way different from all the other doctors.
Pretty much, yeah. The 10th is Tennant.
Him?
Right there, yeah.
Yeah,
he's the 10th.
He's way younger looking.
Right.
Very suave with the blazer and the tie. He sort of departs from the leather jacket and the gruff looking shorter haircut.
And 10, Tennant. Easy to remember. The 11th is Matt Smith.
Is that this one with the...
Matt Smith, he's the 11th doctor.
He's the... Where's the 10?
No. 10th is Tennant, right there.
Which one's Tennant?
Tennant, with the tie right there.
Oh, I thought that was
That's
the 9th.
Tennant.
Oh,
no,
9th,
9th, 10th.
10 is Tennant, and then 11
is Matt Smith.
This guy.
Right.
The Sherlock Holmes looking jacket, very European.
Sherlock Holmes is...
Sherlock Holmes.
No, Sherlock Holmes is what is his name? Younger than drunk.
There's Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's it.
And then we also have, Robert Downey Jr. in the movies.
Cumberbatch.
And then Cumberbatch in the TV series.
Downey Jr. is
different than Sherlock Holmes, but I was just talking about the checkered looking, old European-esque British looking jacket.
Okay. The 12th Doctor, Capaldi.
Capaldi's not on this poster. And then we have the 11th,
13th.
the woman.
Right.
Very awesome.
Whitaker is also not on the poster.
Now, in earlier seasons, they tease about, the Doctor is reincarnated again, and they regenerated. I mean, and they tease about, perhaps the Doctor could take on the form of a woman.
No,
but we never saw that until the 13th Doctor.
They do not tease that.
Okay.
Until during Capaldi's run,
the 12th Doctor.
12th Doctor.
Until leading up.
Then they tease that could happen because of the Master regenerating to Missy. And this is a construct of Stephen Moffat, because in 1999 he did the what is it called, the red-nosed crap, where he regenerated the Doctor into several forms and then a woman for the comedy special, okay?
Okay.
He wrote that, and then he eventually wrote all sorts of crap.
And then it becomes canon, sort of like Blizzard, and they have the World of Warcraft, and then they had the Pandaren, and for a while as a joke, and then it became canon.
Right.
When they saw the big support.
Gathering, they laid a whole bunch of crap that was comedy stuff, and eventually they made it real. Same thing for
such a big
Doctor.
Support for it. Yeah.
Right. They laid groundwork that he could possibly change the woman, that other Time Lords changed the woman. Moffat never did it.
Other Time Lords changed the woman. See,
never. Not until Moffat's reign. It never happened until Moffat started.
But was there
laying the
ever
groundwork.
a Doctor before the first Doctor? Sort of like was
Okay.
that the very first Doctor? Or did he have
Yes.
generations before?
And no.
Yes and no.
There's a particular serial.
So is this an apocryphy or apocrypha?
No, it's a real serial.
It's a real
Okay?
serial.
It's a real serial. Way back when.
So this talks about before the first Doctor.
No.
Yes and no.
It's in here. It's in Tom Baker's run. All right. During that, plenty of people. Okay. Okay.
Who is this pointing at me?
But the Brain of Morbius, right here, the Brain of Morbius. During that serial, push it back. All right. During the
I
Brain
just didn't want you to get confused with the one you currently
during the
have.
Brain of Morbius,
Uh-huh.
it is hinted, it is alluded to that the Doctor had many regenerations or other aspects before the first Doctor.
Is that common for his species or all races? Or is it just the Doctor that regenerates? Because there are also other Time Lords, right?
There are other Time Lords, but this is very specific to the
Very
Doctor.
specific to
But
the Doctor.
it's alluded in the Brain of Morbius, but then completely disregarded.
So they never talked about it again.
No, it's disregarded.
But it's still canon. It's not an apocrypha.
yes
but it's,
and no.
But it's
It's
disregarded
canon,
still.
but it's disregarded. And the first Doctor is the first Doctor, regardless of what anything else says, like the Brain of Morbius. So starting with the first Doctor, you have the you have the 12 Doctors,
Right.
and the War Doctor. I'll explain them later. I know I said I would explain that during
Later.
the intro deal, and I will explain it later, even though I didn't.
Later.
Okay.
I'll give you a reason to tune in later.
Yeah,
2 or 3 years
The
later.
War Doctor. You know John Hurt, the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, from Alien.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, in 1984. Yes, John Hurt plays the War Doctor, and he's technically between Doctor 8 and Doctor 9. Okay, technically he's between
Very confusing.
McGann and Eccleston, but it's wonderful because he plays the Doctor between them, and it's incredible. And I'll show it to you in about 5 years. At the rate we're going.
5 years.
Seriously, I'll show you to you in 5 years. But he plays the War Doctor, and he's amazing, and it's phenomenal, and it is what it is. But
That's true.
it is what it is. But anyway, so in theory, there's Doctors before the first, but they disregard that after Brain of Morbius, and they just go with he's the first Doctor, Hart now.
Yes. So I kept writing down questions, and they kept getting answered within the serials. If you're watching along with us, I'd write down notes, and then continuous watching of the serial, they'd answer the question that I wrote down. One of the questions I wanted to talk about was the politics between the Daleks and the Thals on this planet. What was the planet called? Skaro. And the Daleks, their characters are presented as, very hostile and exterminate. They've been mutated with the radiation to the point where they need radiation to survive, and the Daleks are so different that they just hate anything that's not like them, including the Thals. And the Thals are, they've evolved from warriors into farmers just to survive, and they want to make peace to, repopulate and better the planet, to better the future. I still got one, I'm good. But the Daleks wish only to destroy, and it's like exterminate. And you're talking about, write down in the notes the politics between the Daleks and the Thralls. Did you want to talk about that, or did you have any insights or opinions on the politics between the Daleks and Thralls?
Okay, the Daleks hate the Thralls. The Thralls used to hate the Daleks, but are ambivalent by the time he said this.
500 years after the war.
Right. The war happens on Serial 78. Genesis the Daleks.
Just in the Daleks, we pointed it out.
Right, you'll see that way in the future. Right
Way in
about
the future.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we pointed it out.
So it will happen. We will see it. And that nice ring around the city.
Yeah, it used to be a dome.
Right. And that dome where the missiles couldn't penetrate. And you'll see that in Genesis of the Daleks. I mean, the Daleks are the Doctor's
main
prime antagonist, right? It's the main enemy. And they show up over and over and over again, which is why Terry Nation made a mint off of them. The state still makes a mint off of them.
Right, we talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can talk about that for the camera. Yeah.
We talked about it on camera too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we sure did.
I'm drunk. It's good. Anyway, but the Doctor does that, and he eventually, goes back to the Genesis of the Daleks, and it's all part of everything that Time Lords do.
Yeah, the politics between them, and that sort of is a prelude to the Genesis of the Daleks. And Serial 78, we sort of teased about that, and that's to come in 76 episodes or 76 serials from now.
Right, we're on
podcast
Serial
episodes
2 of a million,
So also I wanted to talk about the alien species presented in Serial 2. We have those metal monsters, which are formed from magnetous constructs, the malleable metals, and once they die, the thralls use them to power their torches and stuff, and from the magnetisms. We also have that swamp monster, which is formed just mutations upon mutations. We have the swamp monster, which claims his victims, and they give these monsters specific names. They have a name for the magnet thing that died, the magneton, and they also have a name for the swamp monster. I was wondering if those ever come up in the future of Scaron. What's the planet called? Scaron. Do those monsters ever show up again? Those mutations, they bothered to name them. Did they ever show up again in serials to come?
No, they're very specific to the planet Scaron.
Scaron, right?
And they never show up again.
They never show up again.
No,
the Genesis of the dogs. So they just wanted to name them just because, even though they weren't
just
going
for
to
that serial.
Just for that serial, they gave them a name.
Yeah, no.
That's cool.
Okay,
it's very immersive.
And the Thals show up again. But, I mean, these are very ancillary characters that do not show up again.
They named them, but they never come up again?
Nope.
That's upsetting. They're really cool. All right, now you also wanted to talk about, and we wrote down notes about, way back in the day, 1963, 1964, the men's men, they had a sort of different type of scripting and writing and acting, shot to shot. Is very, dramatic, and they presented, moral dilemmas, and were presented with one moral dilemma during the serial, which is when you had the two Thrall brothers. We had the one very heroic. He is romantically interested in Barbara. He's, charging forth, and we have to charge forward and defeat the Daleks. And he takes in the hierarchy, he takes leadership after the leader is ambushed by the Daleks and killed. He also has the brother, which is much more, in contrast to that, he's a coward. He wants to turn back. He's like, we're all going to die if we don't run away, type of thing. And we're presented with the moral dilemma of is it gallant or valiant to present that cowardice brother as not so cowardice, when we have that scripted event in the caverns where the one brother's trying to run away and the rogue brother grabs him. He's like, you can't run away, the sacrifices can be vain, and the rocks collapse, and it injures the one brother, and the other brother presents him as very heroic, and he's like, rather than saying he's trying to run away, he said, he pushed me out of the way of the rock falls, and I had the insight, the one opinion of saying, maybe he was presenting him as heroic and gallant, presenting him and telling the others he pushed him out of the way of the rockfall so he wouldn't panic. The other companions, present him as more heroic, and he wasn't having second thoughts. But you had the insight of saying, maybe it's valiant or gallant to present him as less heroic and not so cowardice, but more heroic, and you sort of stretch the truth about what he's really trying to do. What are your insights on that?
Okay, first of all, unbutton your 2 buttons.
You're getting comfortable here.
No.
Is it a little warm in here? Or?
No, it's manly.
Manly? You're trying to get me to strip down?
That's the whole point. Okay?
Is
it manly to... That's the whole point. Is it manly to present yourself?
You unbutton your buttons.
I have no buttons.
But you have one button.
Alright. No. Is it manly to present yourself or others in such a way that they are better than they would have been? Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. Can I lie in the favor of other people that it presents them in better light? Is that right? Is that good? I don't know.
I feel like it's good if you're trying to, encourage the other companions. If you tell the whole truth of, he was trying to run away and that's what happened, they'd be fearful and they'd say, well, if he's trying to run away and he's saying, we should run away, we're all going to die, you don't want to give them that, thought in their head. You want to, keep them steadfast. So you're going to say, you're going to stretch the truth a little bit and say, no, he wasn't running away and that's not why he got hit by the landslide that blocked the exit.
Right, that's the whole point. I mean, if you are running away and I say you're not running away, you're trying to save me and ours. Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, that's a philosophical argument.
It's philosophical and it's a moral dilemma.
Right. And that's the whole point presented here is, do you lie for the betterment of good or do you tell the truth even though it's against the betterment of the common good?
Right, and that's very representative of the writing back in the day. It had very good writing and character development. And not only the writing, but even the characters and the naming themselves. You had Dionysia, or the characters, they had very Greek-esque naming. That's very cool. So, and going on from that,
Dionysius
and
Thanos.
Like from the Marvel Thanos.
I don't remember his exact name. Dionysius or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So going on from that, my penultimate question to finish off this series, my last question I wrote down here. Let me read it. We're talking about, this goes way back to what we were talking about earlier, the set and the set construction of the Daleks. They had this, the way back in the day, 1963, 1964, we had these writers and directors and the set constructors. They had, this imagination. They wanted to present, what does the future look like way back when, but in the future, what does that look like? And when they're trying to present this future, they had the Daleks and they had ticker tape, which you talked about. Ticker tape had to do with the stock market and the stock market exchange. Ticker tape, and you want to talk about that and
they show the ticker tape during
the self-construction and modernization of the sets. Obviously they have these old,
ticker tape machines. Well, wait. Way back in the day, the ticker tape machines would show the change in the stock market and the change in the certain stocks in the stock market, how they would change every minute, up or down. Well, I mean, that's like really very 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. By the time we got to the 80s, we're starting with computers. But we're still in the 60s here, and you're showing ticker tape for everything. And back in the day, they would have ticker tape parades for the astronauts who landed on the moon.
The streamers and stuff.
Exactly. For the people who would win, the World Series, the NBA championships, the NFL championships. And they would be honored by a ticker tape parade, which is, the deconstruction of all the ticker tapes. But, it's fun. That was in New York City mostly. Yep. Because where the ticker tapes were.
Yeah, that was current. They saw that as the future, and then later on they had computers and the computer screens. They realized, that's probably not what the future looks like. and the set constructors and the directors, they went in a new direction. They continued to imagine what the future may look like, and you see in future seasons they have different sets, and it's not so much rotary based and the blinking lights and stuff. They sort of have this modern analog. They have a modernization of the sets and what the future may look like, but within all this, the Daleks design never changes. The Daleks always stay the same. They sort of stay these trash can shaped, Roomba looking
pepper pots.
Pepper pots.
Exactly.
They always stay the same, but the sets, they modernize and they have, green screens and technology. It progresses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was my last question.
What was the
sets? Yeah.
All right.
Covered everything else.
So we've done the Unearthly Child, Serial 1. We've done Serial 2, the Daleks.
Episode 2, Serial 2.
Yeah, 7 episodes. He's asked questions, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Serial 3 is The Edge of Destruction. It was only 2 episodes. Which is seriously amazingly short.
We're gonna have to
when we watch it, we will also watch the original pilot of Unearthly Child,
so
because 2 episodes is too short to
get drunk.
To get drunk, exactly. And we'll give you that. And then after that, Marco Polo, the 4th serial, which is currently non-existent.
Missing. That's the reconstruction.
The entire thing does not exist. Right. Okay. Hope you've had fun.
Thank you for joining us.
Right, exactly. Have all your questions been answered?
Yes, absolutely. Was there anything else you had left to discuss?
No.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to our channel. This has been Hatter on his channel. And Holden.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you very much.
Gotta love it.
Have a nice day.
Gotta love it.
Woo!
Alright. Turn this thing off.